All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Laura with the Plano Public Library, and I want to thank you all for joining us for tonight's program. Please note your microphone and your video have been turned off. If you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. We have Zoe and Jessica here with us this evening who will be monitoring the chat to assist with any issues and bring questions to my attention. We will also be sure to leave time for questions at the end. Now, there are a few housekeeping reminders that I would like to share with everyone. Please note this program is being recorded and will be made available on the Plano Public Library YouTube page for later viewing. Soliciting business or selling merchandise during library virtual programs is prohibited. Please show respect for our presenter and one another throughout the program. And Zoom provides live captioning. The option is available in the Zoom toolbar. Okay, so with that behind us, we can jump right into our program tonight, which is Be a Citizen Science eBird. This is a series of 3 programs in the fall. This is, of course, our last one, and each focused on a different citizen science opportunity. This week, we are talking about eBird. Now, before we get started with that, let's take a minute to look at what citizen science is. So citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and people who are curious or concerned about the world around them and are motivated to make a difference. And anyone can participate. That is where we get the term citizen. It means anyone can jump in. You do not need to have expertise to participate. You can just participate when you have the time. It's not a long-term commitment. And there's a lot of amazing things that have come out of citizen science. And this data that is collected by citizen scientists help professional scientists come to very real conclusions. Now, this picture here is a mountain goat survey. And what we're going to talk about today isn't quite as involved as going out and counting mountain goats. This one is with the National Park Service. You can see the park ranger there in the middle, but it does involve getting outside and looking at birds. Let's talk about eBird. eBird is one of the world's largest biodiversity-related science projects. It is managed by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and their mission is to interpret and conserve the Earth's biological diversity through research, education, and citizen science focused on birds and nature. It is a great resource for anything about birds. It has a database of bird species complete with pictures, maps, and sound recordings. So I do encourage you to explore the Cornell Lab of Ornithology's website, but tonight we are going to be focusing only on eBird. And the goal of eBird is to gather information about birds in the form of checklist of bird species. They are archived and then freely shared with power-driven data approaches to science, conservation, and education. So today we'll be talking about eBird and its features. We're going to briefly discuss setting up your eBird account, but the intent of this program is to introduce citizen scientists to eBird. And eBird is available in over 30 languages. And to create your account, you just go to their website and click the Get Started button. It's green up there in the top right hand corner, and create your free account. So let's talk about using it. We'll start with talking about using it in the web version. So recording your birding using eBird is referred to as a checklist. Each time you use eBird while birding, you will submit a new checklist. There are 2 ways to do this, and we're going to start with the web version, as I mentioned, and then we're going to move on to the app. So you're going to be recording, and the first one there, your location. So where are you birding? You can also find it on the map. You don't have to type it in. When and how you went birding. So you want to do the day and the time you went birding, how far you traveled if you are walking, how long you were birding, and if you were stationary or traveling. So if you're sitting in your house watching your bird feeder, you will stay stationary and you aren't going to have to worry about distance. And then the birds that you see. You'll enter the number of each species you saw and identified while birding. Even if you only heard the bird, it still counts as part of your checklist. Now, you can also download the app on an iOS or Android device, which is the fastest way of entering your sightings in the field. So if you, I'm about to show you some screenshots. They are from an Android device. So if you have Apple, it may look just a little bit different. eBird app, it is completely free. There's no in-app purchasings, there's no ads. So occasionally, especially this time of year, at the end of the year, a little pop-up may appear asking for a donation. Or if there's an event coming up, it may pop up and say, hey, this is happening on this date. But it is only going to come from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. There's no outside advertisements. And the main page, so when you open your app, you're going to see what is on the screen there on the left, is a prompt to start your checklist. When you click Start Checklist, it starts recording your date, time, and your location. And once that checklist appears, you can start bird watching. So you can see there on the right, I have started typing in a bird's name and it starts popping up. You just click that little plus button, or you can click the species name. If there's like a lot, let's say you see a flock of geese, you don't have to click it 600 times. Say I see a flock of 600 snow geese. You can click the name and type that in. And then you can also add notes if you want to. So there's an opportunity to use notes. And then once you are done, you'll click stop and a pop-up will appear checking to see if you really meant to stop your checklist. You say yes. It's going to ask you to choose a location. And the app is going to help you determine your location. It is going to use your device. So if you have disabled your device from knowing where you are, that part's not going to work. And then you can select, you can see here in this instance, I was bird watching at Russell Creek Park. And so I selected that. I said, yes, I am submitting a complete checklist of the birds. You can see here, I saw 11 species in 33 minutes, walked close to a mile, and then we hit submit. And that is all that you have to do on your end. I do want to take a moment to touch on privacy in eBird. Because you need an account to use eBird, it requires a valid email and your name. Now, I have been using eBird for years, and the emails they send me are minimal. And we'll talk about what kind of emails you might get in just a moment. So you can adjust your privacy options on the web browser. So you would go to preference and you can decide how you want your name displayed. So you can have your name displayed. If you don't want your name displayed, other people can see this, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You can choose to say you are an anonymous eBirder. And then data privacy, this allows you to restrict the public visibility of your data, but Cornell researchers will still be able to view what you are doing. The public just can't. So now let's talk about using eBird to find more birds. And if you'll be patient with me for just one moment, I would like to pull up eBird so that we can see this in real time. So we have the basics of submitting a checklist through eBird, so you can record the birds that you see while you're birding. Now let's talk about using eBird as a tool to find even more birds. So there are 3 ways to use eBird's website to find birds. You can map species, which allows you to find the range of a particular species of bird. You can discover birding hotspots near you, and you can explore counties, states, providences or countries to view most recent sightings, first-time sightings, all-time high count, hotspots, and more. Now you do need to be logged in, and you can see I am logged in, so we're good. And we are going to go up here to the Explore tab, and this is what's going to pop up. So we're going to start with a species map. Let's click there, and you can begin by entering the species of the bird you are looking for. You can use the common species name, so you do not need to know the bird's binomial scientific name. Now, I've always wanted to see a belted kingfisher, so let's put that in. You can see as I started typing, this drop-down menu appeared, and there's suggestions. The first one at the top is belted kingfisher, so you may not need to type the thing in. So let's click on that. And then before we go a little too detailed into it, let's narrow things down. The date auto defaults to year-round all years, but you can enter a custom date range by clicking this drop-down arrow. And since it is December, let's go ahead and click December to February. And I like to narrow it down to about the last 5 years. Seeing if something was somewhere about 10 years ago isn't going to help me find the bird tomorrow. So we're going to set our date range. And you see that there are purple boxes. Those are places this bird has been seen. And the more that bird has been seen, the darker the purple is going to be. So now we can put a particular place name or address in here, or we can zoom in to find hotspots or locations. Let's go ahead and just start zooming. And we want to take a look at North Texas. And we are in luck. You can see here, there are hotspots in the area that a belted kingfisher has been seen. And then we can start clicking on them. I do want to click here. It's not showing up. Let me see here. Let's go back to all years for right now, because I do want to show y'all something. Let's reset our date range. Now we have the hotspots in red. Because it is still not the end of December, I don't think it was counting everything. Red means that something has been seen there in the past 30 days. I want to click here at Muddy Creek Reservoir because this weekend, as you can see, I saw a belted kingfisher. So I got my wish. I saw one this weekend. And now if you look at the list of people who have recorded a belted kingfisher at the Muddy Creek Reservoir, which is a great place to see shorebirds and water birds, I saw one. Let's go back to explore, and now we're going to explore regions. Now, this is a good way to find birding hotspots and species to look for if you're traveling. Now we're going to type in our destination, and a drop-down menu will appear. You have the option again to select from the drop-down instead of typing it out. So let's say we are planning a vacation to New York City. So I'm going to start typing that in. And then if I say New York City, nothing's going to come up. So let's see what happens when I remove city. And there we go, New York, New York. So here's what New York City's regional page looks like. It is an overview of eBird reports for the current month. So this can give you an idea of who is being seen where. So you can see on this side, there are community targets, and these haven't been seen this month, but they've been seen around this date in previous years. So we're hoping we can see them. You can expect to see them there, but no one's reported them. And then on the right are new species. So these are the most recently recorded species that haven't been seen before in that area or at this time of year before. So if you're looking to expand your life list and want to see something new, this is a great place to start. And scrolling down gets you to, there's photos, and here are recent checklist. And you can see where people have seen birds recently. Now, this being New York City, you're going to see Central Park a lot. There's a lot of birds in Central Park. It's a popular destination. However, there's a lot of other places to see birds in New York City. As you can see here, we have Madison Square Park, Morningside Park, and let's go up and, or no, I apologize. Let's see all of our recent ones. Charles Schultz Park. There's a lot to see for birds in New York City. Theodore Roosevelt Park. This is right outside of the American Museum of Natural History. And one of the best places to birdwatch in New York is Jamaica Bay, which is out in Queens. If you're ever there and want a great place to birdwatch, Jamaica Bay is great. It is close to Rockaway Beach, which is where I saw my first piping plover. Now, before we move on, let's look at a smaller location. So we want to go back to explore regions. Let's say I am visiting my aunt in Haskell County, Texas. It's out west. What birding opportunities might I have there? So again, I start typing and there's suggestions. You aren't going to want to say county at the end of that. It kind of looks like a city or town, but it is a county. So let's click on it. And here is this page. So it does look like there are fewer birders in Haskell County. So that results in a smaller species list. There's not a lot of hotspots. There's not been too much seen, just 13 species this month. However, I know if I go, there's a good chance that I am going to see something. And exploring regions is not limited to the United States. It is worldwide. So if I wanted to visit family in Ternopil, Ukraine, I have another aunt and uncle, we can do that as well. You can see for this month, they have seen 10 species, including magpies and a rock pigeon. They're everywhere, so that's something that shows up across the board. And there's checklist. Now let's go back to our Explore page, and now I'm going to talk about the tool I use the most on eBird, which is Explore Hotspots. Now, a hotspot is a public location that people regularly visit for birding. This doesn't mean that you are a guaranteed great birding experience every time you go. But because checklists are so frequently submitted there, you have a good idea of who to expect when you visit. So if you know the name of your hotspot that you're looking for, you can go ahead and enter it right here. But let's put an address in. We'll put in Davis Library. So we can do that in location. 1, 3. I think I am throwing it off. What should be? Yep, there we go. 7501 Independence Parkway. We're going to stick with all year round, all years. And now we have a list of hotspots. And something exciting that happened, I think it was about this summer, the park behind Davis Library became a hotspot. So you can see there's been 57 species that have been seen here. Let's view the details. And you can see the most recent ones are up here. So these are new species that haven't been seen yet this year there, or this month, I'm sorry. Mallard, mourning dove, American widgeon. There's no photos for right now, but you can see that there's been a few people using it, which is really exciting. Let's go back to our map and we'll put address in again, but this time we're going to zoom out a little bit to see what else there is. So here's a hot spot here, Russell Creek Park, Carpenter Park, Archgate Park, and there is a key on the side here. So blue means 100 or fewer birds have been seen there, while the darker red it gets, the more birds have been seen or the more species. So you can see Conmara Meadow has seen quite a few, not too far away. And then if we zoom out more, I believe what is closest to us with the most species seen is the Herd Museum. So you can see there's been 251 species. Let's view details. And there's a lot more pictures as well. So this month, they have seen quite a few sparrows. This is the time of year that our sparrows start to visit. And then if there is this symbol by it, it means there is a comet and a picture. And here's pictures of some of the things that have been seen and uploaded. Something that's been really exciting happening at the Herd Museum is fish crows have appeared. They are a very unique sounding crow. You may think they look just like one of our American crows, which they do, but they're going to sound a lot different and have a little bit of a shorter tail. Okay, so let's take a look at my eBird. So if you have been using eBird for a while, this is where you can go to view your stats on the website. So this is my eBird, and you can see my stats. So along the top, you can see the total number of species I have seen, which reached 150 this weekend. The number of checklists submitted, as well as the pictures and audio that I have submitted. Now, I didn't really start birding in earnest until mid-2022. I have been using eBird since 2021, so my past information isn't as detailed as it is now. So here's my eBirding over time. I like to keep it at species, and you can see how many you have seen this year. I'm at 138, and how it compares to previous years. Obviously, December's not over yet, so this isn't filled. But you can see by December last year, I had seen 100. The year before that, 49. So the number of birds I see each year is increasing. And below that is December specifically. So I've seen 36 species this year compared to just 32 as of 12/22/2024. It will also show your most recent checklist over here, as well as any recent media. And they have started allowing you to upload pictures of the environment around you or anything else really neat that you see while doing eBird, which is why my latest media, which is from a trip I took to Virginia, doesn't show a lot of birds in it. So I was using these as my kind of space that I was birding in pictures. Now, on the left side of your screen, there is a menu that includes managing alerts. So let's click that, because this is where we talk about rare bird alerts. If you enter a country, and I'm already subscribed to a county, it will send you an email anytime a rare species is sighted in the area. So this notification will include the location that bird was seen, so you can go look for yourself. And again, you can see I get daily reports for Collin County. Lately, there's been some purple finches seen. I've not been able to see them, but it's neat to see what other people are seeing. And then you can also do needs alerts. So let's say you want to receive alerts for species you haven't recorded before. Anytime someone records something you haven't seen yet, let's say for Collin County, you'll get an email. As soon as you see it, you will not get an email that says, hey, there was a common grackle seen. I don't subscribe to this one. I would imagine it would come with a few more emails than the rare bird alerts. But if that's something you're trying to do, maybe you want to do a big year for Collin County where you see every bird possible in the county, needs alert might be a good tool for you. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and let's talk for a moment about identifying birds. What happens if you're wrong? Don't worry, bird identification can be tricky. It can be very difficult to tell similar species apart. For species that look similar, eBird sometimes has the option of selecting both birds. So downy woodpeckers and hairy woodpeckers not only look very similar, but their ranges overlap. So if you are not sure the bird you are looking at is specifically a downy or specifically a hairy woodpecker, you can choose that downy hairy woodpecker option that says, hey, one of these two birds was here and I saw it. I also struggle to differentiate between lesser scalps and ring-necked ducks, which are both common species at the pond behind Davis in the winter. So if you have an unusual observation, it's going to let you know it before you submit your checklist. Reliable, accurate data is essential to the eBird database. So if you record an infrequent species, it's going to say, hey, this is infrequent by having a orangey yellow half circle. Or if it is a rare or out of season bird, it will have a red circle following it. It can get flagged by eBird's automated filtering process. You could see a needs details message on your checklist, and this just means that your observation needs more documentation than usual. So if you see something and it has either of those symbols by it in the app, try to get a picture of the unique bird observation. The app will run in the background on your phone the entire time, so you can use your phone's camera to take pictures. You also have the option of uploading pictures after the fact. So if you use a separate camera, once you download those pictures, you can edit your checklist and add media. And then try to take notes if you come across something unusual. Was it flying? What did you see that made you think this is what this bird is? Was it its call? Was it its feather coloration? Put that in there. And eBird reviewers, they're not as scary as you might think. So flagged observations are reviewed by a volunteer eBird reviewer. They're going to look over your documentation to make that final decision on the accuracy of your observations. And if they need more information, they're going to reach out to you using the email in your account. And this can feel like you are in trouble, but I promise you aren't. These eBird reviewers are people who love birds. When I first got into birding, I was confused by a red-bellied woodpecker because they have a red head. You can't really see their red belly. And they're very common to our areas. However, there is a red-headed woodpecker, which ended up having a head much redder than the red-bellied, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was like, clearly has a red head. This is a red-headed woodpecker. However, they're not common to our area. So when I said I found a red-headed woodpecker and didn't get a picture of it, an eBird reviewer reached out and said, hey, you have a picture? Did it by chance look like this? They described a red-bellied woodpecker, and I realized my mistake. And another time, I reported I saw a greater scalp, when in reality, I saw a lesser. This time, I relied on a bird identification app saying, hey, this is what this is. And when I shared this with that eBird reviewer, he walked me through the difference of the two birds. So I learned something, which is really nice. Now, field guides are an individual preference. It's best to explore different books to see which one is going to work best for your needs. Now, one of my favorite field guides is the Birds of Texas Field Guide by Steve Keklia. It's one that we have at least one copy. I think we have a couple. We have four here at PPL. So if you want to do a search for bird field guides to explore which one meets your needs before you say, I'm going to go out and buy this one, we have several for you to choose from. However, during migration seasons, you might start to see unfamiliar visitors from other parts of the country or even other countries. So the Birds of Texas field guide may not be as helpful. For example, white-crowned sparrows breed in the Arctic Circle in Canada, but they winter here in North Texas. For this reason, it's a good idea to have a field guide to North American birds as well. And there's plenty to choose from. I love Roger Tory Peterson's guide to North American birds. It's just one of my favorites. And again, explore our catalog and see what works best for you. And it is always good to become familiar with the birds in your neighborhood. 15 to 20 bird species are going to make up 99% of what you see. Consider these 20 birds your baseline birds. The more you're familiar with them, the easier it is going to be for you to recognize them both by sight and by sound. That way, when you see something unusual, you will pick up on it quickly. I don't usually have a lot of green birds at my feeder, so when a female painted bunting arrived, I knew immediately this wasn't one of my usual birds. Sometimes, however, referring to a field guide while birding is difficult, so don't worry, there's an app for that. The Merlin Bird ID app was created by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology to help birders answer the question, what's that bird? It is free to download and available for both Apple and Android devices. So it has the option to upload a mystery bird, and it will try to identify it for you. So you can see here, I saw a robin, I uploaded its picture, and it said, yes, this is an American robin. You can also record or let it listen to birdsong. And this is one of my favorite features. Just allow that app to run. And when you hear birdsong, it's going to let you know who's singing. However, birds do need to be close by or very loud, like crows or blue jays, to be picked up on by the app. And ambient noise, like traffic or water flowing, can make it difficult to pick up a bird's song. I typically struggle to use it at the pond behind the library because of the pond's fountain. And also in summer, cicadas drown out everything. Now, it can be tricked by a mockingbird. So if you suddenly have a lot of birds you don't usually have in your yard, take a look around and see if a mockingbird is nearby. He likes to hang out at a very high point, so look up, and he could be the culprit. It will maintain a life list of all the birds you've identified. It is connected to your eBird account. So if you submit something through eBird, but not Merlin, it's still going to keep it in your life count. And it does have limits though. So it's best to use it along with bird field guides. If something seems really out of sorts, like you hear a bird and you're thinking that can't be right, don't immediately add it to your checklist and say, I heard this or I saw this. Try again and see what it says. And of course, if you get a photo, you can always crowdsource an ID using the iNaturalist app. So it is December, so let's talk about something that is focused this time of year in December. But before we do that, I do want to talk about a famous ornithologist, Frank Chapman. He was an early 20th century ornithologist who loved birds from childhood. He began work as an assistant to the bird curator at the American Museum of Natural History in 1888, and by 1920, he became head of the Department of Birds. He only had a high school diploma. In the 19th century, a popular activity was the Christmas Day side hunt. Hunters would divide into teams, which were referred to as sides, and go on a hunt to see which team could shoot the most animals, including birds. Now, at this time, North American birds had no protection, And the fashions of the day, which included wearing extravagant decorations made from birds or feathers or entire birds, contribute to the rapid decline of bird species. Now, these side hunts on Christmas Day weren't people going out and shooting a few animals. They would bag hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And Frank Chapman knew something needed to change. So, in the 1900 issue of Bird Lore magazine, he suggested what he called a new kind of Christmas side hunt. Instead of counting the birds killed, hunters would tally how many birds they saw. So on December 25th, 1900, 27 people counted 90 birds at 24 separate locations. Today, it is now known as the Audubon Christmas Bird Count, or CBC, takes place each December. Now, the 124th CBC, so last year's bird count, had 83,186 participants who counted 40 million birds at 2,677 locations. So, in just over a century, the Great Christmas Side Hunt has completely disappeared and has been replaced by the Christmas Bird Count, which not only is a fun thing to do, but is a conservation tool for us to say, hey, we've noticed a decline in species right here. Why is that? How can we change it? So today, the Christmas bird counts last from December 14th to January 5th. This event is a cooperative effort to get a count of birds across 25,000 plus 15-mile diameter CBC circles, which you can see on the map here. And as I said, the final count total is compared to past totals to help document changes in bird populations. So if you wanted to participate in next year's Christmas bird count, because unfortunately it's already closed to join this year since it started earlier this month, but you would go to the page and look for a count near you. Green and yellow circles, which you can see here, are counts open for new members, while the red is full. Definitely review Audubon's page on the Christmas bird count before deciding if it is for you. It does involve a lot of early mornings. It is something that people take very seriously, so maybe not for the novice. But if it's something you're interested in doing, you can email the compilers in advance and say, hey, how can I join? Now, if you want to participate just for yourself, you can create a trip report, which I'll talk about in just a moment, in eBird for December 14th all the way to January 5th, or just for December 25th if you want to go back to the way that Frank Chapman did it and see how many birds you see. So these checklists won't be tallied for the Great Christmas Bird Count, but it will be added to eBird's ever-expanding database. Trip report. They were introduced fairly recently, in December of 2021, and a trip report is a summary of where you went and who you saw, along with photos and audio recordings you uploaded, all in one spot. So let's take a look at my trip reports. Let's go back to my eBird, and we're going to click trip reports right here. And let's look at my spring New York trip. Just something very exciting happened here. So you can see I birded in Chicago, also in Illinois. I took Amtrak, so this was my route. And then let's zoom in to New York. And you can see a lot of what I did was in Manhattan, but this is when I took an excursion to Jamaica Bay, as well as Rockaway Beach. And so here's the map showing everything. I saw 48 species. I submitted 21 checklists, and I also had 6 photos. I saw 11 new lifers, so birds I had never seen before. And here they are all listed. Pigeons, 108, that's to be expected. It's something that was incredibly exciting and one of my life birds that I had a goal of seeing. Let's take a look. Where are you? Was my piping plover. This was my first endangered species. I saw it on Rockaway Beach. I uploaded a photo. Oh, I didn't. I'll have to go back and do that. But here's my killdeer, another plover, an American oyster catcher, which was recently a threatened species. They're making a comeback. And you'll notice back on my species, if there's just an X, that does mean that I either just marked it as, hey, I heard it, but I don't know how many I saw, or I uploaded it through Merlin. You also have the option to share it with others. My piping plover took place right there. It was very exciting for me. So if you want to make a trip report, let's go back to manage my trip reports. You'll just click create trip report here and you can name it whatever you would like, start and end date. So if you're wanting to keep track of who you see during your own Christmas bird count, use a trip report. And then once you fill it all out, this button's going to turn green and now it's there. And any checklist that you submit during the time frame you submit here will be shown on your trip report. And you can do it in advance. So if you know you're going to go somewhere, go ahead and make your report so that you can just submit your observations. Visibility, I keep it to link only so I can send it to others. Limited, only you can see it and people you give permission to see it. Public, anyone can see it. All right, so what is next? If eBird is something you enjoy, there are many opportunities to do citizen science with birds. So the Great Backyard Bird Count this year is February 13th through the 16th. It lasts 4 days. It's a global event to create a real-time snapshot of bird populations around the world. So last year, more than 140,000 people submitted their bird observations. And this was the largest instantaneous snapshot of global bird populations ever recorded. So if you want to participate, you can see how we can make 2026 compare to that. So all you have to do is watch birds in your favorite spot or spots for 15 minutes or longer for at least one day over those 4 days. You're not limited to how many days you participate as long as it's in those 4. And again, this is a great opportunity to create an eBird trip so you can view all your contributions in one spot. There are some other citizen science opportunities from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. This time of year, Project Feeder Watch is in full swing. You simply count the birds at your feeders from November through April, and this helps scientists monitor changes in the abundance and distribution of birds. Now, please note, unlike other citizen science opportunities, this one requires an $18 annual participation fee, as the project itself is supported almost entirely by the participants. Now, you do receive a poster of common birds who visit feeders when you join, and you don't have to wait for November to sign up. So if this sounds like your kind of thing, you can sign up for it now. And I do want to encourage you to explore eBird. There are tutorials that go into more details than we did today. And then we do have a program coming up in January, so in about a month. It is going to be about nature journaling. It is observing nature's rhythms, and we're going to talk about phenology nature journaling. You can sign up on our website, and then again, it is January 26th. It's a Monday from 6:30 to 7:30. About that. There we go. Well, that is all that I have for you this evening. We'll give just a moment or two for questions. And if you think of a question later, that is more than okay. You can submit it through Ask PPL. Whoever is taking a look at that will see that it is about birds and know to send it my way. All right. Well, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you being here. Please be sure to stay up to date with Plano Public Library by following our Facebook and Instagram pages. You can find recordings of this and other past programs on our YouTube channel. And thank you all again for coming. And you can also take a look at our website calendar for more upcoming events. We are coming to the end of our fall programming session, but that just means it's time to start spring on January 2nd. We will see you next time.